Many organizations that we know, and that's non-profit organizations for that matter, have always passed their annual audits. Clean, no findings, no recommendations, but 6 months down the line, they fell into a trap. They had problems, and some of them even had to close. And you see, that audit had nothing to do with the why. Here is what the organizations had gone through step by step. So these organizations, if we take one for example, they had been in years of operations, let's say a decade. They have respected programs, and that's why they kept attracting grants. They also had strong community relationships or their beneficiary relationships. Those were assured. They also had dedicated staff because they had spent several years or several intentions in terms of professionalizing their organizations. And they definitely had an engaged board. And as I said, a clean audit. But what this audit did not look at is that the audit, although was clean, did not look at whether the budget was being monitored month to month. This audit also failed to look at whether restricted grant funds were being tracked separately. This same clean audit failed to see whether the board understood the financial statements they were approving. And again, this same clean audit did not look at whether anyone in the organization could explain their cash flow forecast. So the audit confirmed that the numbers were recorded accurately and gave their opinion based on that, which I think is the basis usually of the opinion. It said nothing about whether the organization knew what to do with those numbers. So what actually happened? If you look in retrospect, this was a textbook progression of all the 4 warning signs that I spoke about in my earlier video. Sign 1 appeared first. A budget that was set and forgotten. Spending crept above budgets on several programs, and nobody caught it until the year-end review. So sign 2, if you look at the scenario, was already embedded. You see that restricted grant income had been spent on core costs during a lean quarter, and the grant had technically been delivered, but the money was gone and they couldn't be accounted for properly. So let's see how sign 3 crept in. So sign number 3 made both of those problems invisible. How did it achieve that? Because the monthly close took 4 to 5 weeks. And by the time leadership saw the numbers, the decisions had already been made. And then finally, the 4th sign sealed it. The board had stopped asking hard financial questions 2 years earlier, and the treasurer summarized everything, and everyone nodded, and no one pushed back. 4 signs, each managed in isolation or manageable in isolation, but together they were fatal. So here is what I want you to take from this. Every one of those 4 signs, if caught early, was fixable. Reactive budgeting can be corrected by introducing a monthly management accounts review. 2 hours a month, just 2 hours. Restricted fund confusion is corrected by restricting the chart of accounts and training the finance team. It's just a week's work. Just making sure that the funds are coded, the dimensions in the system are set in such a way that you can easily run a GL report or a ledger report that will give you the exact allocation of the restricted grant from the whole. You don't have to run a different set of a financial system for it. Same financial system, same everything, just the same way that the money is going into the same bank account. But you can be able to simply pull a report from the system that only shows you what was charged to that report. And I know many of the people of finance leads have probably figured that out. Then how can we correct the slow close? The slow monthly close can be corrected by setting a hard deadline and giving finance functions the tools to meet it. This I know because I have been here. I have walked into an organization that was actually it was the end of the year and no single month had been closed in that financial year, and we were starting to prepare for audit. I was just going in when the audit time was in. And so one of my 90-day submission when I took that position is to turn around that and to make sure that even though we were starting from a point of a year backlog, by the time we were hitting a half year into the new year, that gap should have been closed and we were back to our reporting cadence of 5 days after the month end. We would be closing the books. And believe you me, that is our reality today. So the fourth sign, the board disengagement, can be corrected by changing how financial information is presented. Plain language, one page, and questions. Clarity, improving clarity on how we present our board packages in a manner that they can understand, they can engage, and they can ask the helping questions. And believe me, none of this are expensive. None requires an audit. None requires external intervention in the early stages. They require the willingness to see the signs and take them seriously. And the organization that I've talked about in this story, they do not collapse because of fraud, or they do not collapse because of a governance scandal. They collapse because the forewarning signs went unaddressed for long enough that the options ran out. So in my next upcoming video, I will give you a self-audit tool. 15 minutes, honest answers, a clear picture of which of the 4 signs are present in your organization right now. So be sure to come back for that. It might be the most important 15 minutes you spend in your organization's financial health this month. So thank you for watching, and let's meet in the next.